When you visit a state as big and diverse as Texas, there are a million different trips you can take. Let's say you've got an appetite for whitewater kayaking. You can get your own, so this is why they call it Devil's River, trip to Texas. Or maybe you have an actual appetite. I'll take a pound of brisket, 6 ribs, 3 links of sausage, and a piece of pecan pie. Trip to Texas. Go to traveltexas.com/get your own for the only trip to Texas that matters. Yours.
Building a portfolio with Fidelity Basket Portfolios is kind of like making a sandwich. It's as simple as picking your stocks and ETFs, sort of like your meats and other topics, and managing it as one big, juicy investment. Now that's pretty good. Learn more at fidelity.com/baskets. Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE SIPC.
Welcome back to another epic episode of AFK with Nina. In this episode, I'm taking you along for a deep dive into my recent trip to Paradise, Hawaii. From stunning beaches and epic adventures to some unexpected moments, I'll be sharing the highlights and what made this getaway unforgettable. But that's not all. We're also tackling the latest from the NFL with a special focus on, you guessed it, the Detroit Lions. Whether you're a diehard fan or just catching up, I've got my thoughts on their season so far and what's next for the team. All right, ladies and gentlemen, going to be sharing some short highlights from our Hawaii trip. Any particular moments that specifically stood out? All right, so listen up. For those of you who don't know, me and my beautiful wife went on a 10-day vacation to Hawaii. Now, this is the longest vacation I've ever taken in my entire life, especially since after I started streaming. So it was a little nerve-wracking to take that much time off, but you know, as a streamer, it's always, a lot of streamers always find it very difficult to take time off, right? They have to justify it in some way, when in reality, right, like your mental health and taking time for yourself is one of the most important things in the world. A lot of streamers feel obligated to keep their viewers in the loop and their fans in the loop and give them as much content as possible. But I feel like when we're doing that, we're over prioritizing them and not putting ourselves first, which at the end of the day should always be the case. Something I've learned over time, right, is to feel better about taking time off, because your fans will, you know, at the end of the day, whether or not they know it or not, they want you to be in your best mindset and you to be as relaxed and in a good space as possible, because that's going to end up being better content for them. So yeah, me and my beautiful wife, Jessica, we went on a 10-day Hawaii trip. This was to celebrate our 7-year wedding anniversary. We also went with 2 of our best friends. They're a couple as well, Amanda and Alex. We've met them in college and have been friends with them ever since. So it was a little bit of a couples trip as well. And it was spectacular. I mean, from the travel there, right, to every plane ride being smooth and not having any issues, to, no flights being delayed, to, the incredible experiences, and like views that we saw, right? Like we went, and I'm sure I'll get into more of them in detail, but just, we went from going on epic hikes to seeing beautiful beaches to seeing the wildlife, and going on drives and exploring the island. Like it was probably the most adventurous I've ever been. And it was definitely the best vacation I've ever been on. So did I try new activities or adventures while I was there? So I went on my first ever hike, right? Like I've gone on walks, right? I've gone on walks, I've gone on runs my entire life, right? But I've never gone on a hike, right? Where these big boots and you're going, up and down, natural, like just nature, right? No, not really stairs and just trails, right? It was more than that, right? I've gone on. So we went on several hikes. We went on this incredible, beautiful hike at the first island, the big island. We went to Volcano Park, I think is what it was called. And we went on this 3.4 mile hike where it took us down the mountain, or down the volcano, if you will, down the mountain, and like we walked across like the frozen lava or the hardened lava in the valley between the mountains. And it was a crazy hike, like 8,000 some steps. And it was just magical, right? Like, just, we posted incredible pictures, and to be that close to where the volcano was, it was nuts. We didn't see running lava or anything like that, but it was definitely one of my favorite moments, and a new activity that I never did. That, and then we did another incredible hike. This was when we went to the second island, the island of Lanai. And this was in like more of like the center of the island. So it was like definitely more of like a nature hike. It wasn't like close to the ocean or anything like that. But I felt like I was in a video game. It was like a forest. It was like this crazy forest. We were surrounded by trees on both sides, and we're walking on this dirt road, and it was just magical. It was cool the whole way there. Like, it was no humidity, just this cold air kind of around you. And at the very end of the hike, it opens up. It was like a 5-mile hike. At the very end of the hike, it opens up into this beautiful, like, you're in between all these mountains, and you see all these, the gnarliest view. Again, I'm pretty sure I've posted it on my social media somewhere. But those two hikes were definitely the coolest things that I did, and that were like the newest activity that I've ever done. What was the most memorable meal or local dish I enjoyed in Hawaii? I mean, I don't really think we had too much crazy authentic Hawaiian food, personally. At least not that I can think of off the top of my head. But, we obviously ate at some of the most delicious restaurants that were there. There was like a Nobu that was there. And yeah, I mean, there was some local food that we tried. I mean, like local places. I mean, I can't think of anything like specific that was like, I mean, I had this dessert. I don't even remember the name of the restaurant. I had this dessert that was like a banana dark chocolate, like fudge cake, like a flourless cake or something, right? That had a banana ice cream served on top of it. And I think I saw Jesus after I finished this thing. It was one of the most delicious desserts I've ever had, if not the most delicious dessert I've ever had in my entire life. And that's not over exaggerating. So that's that. Best meal I had, for sure. Or item.
When you visit a state as big and diverse as Texas, there are a million different trips you can take. Let's say you've got an appetite for whitewater kayaking. You can get your own, so this is why they call it Devil's River, trip to Texas. Or maybe you have an actual appetite. I'll take a pound of brisket, 6 ribs, 3 links of sausage, and a piece of pecan pie. Trip to Texas. Go to traveltexas.com/get your own for the only trip to Texas that matters. Yours.
There are a lot of reasons some people choose cannabis. Whether you're tapping into your creative side or just trying to relax, the one thing weed won't do is make it any more safe or legal to drive afterwards. It can slow reaction times, for example, and if you thought a few eye drops helped you get away with it, know that people can tell when you've been smoking marijuana, including law enforcement. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI.
How did I find the balance between relaxation and exploration during my stay? This is one of the most important things about any vacation, right? when I go on a vacation, especially since I'm like trying to be much more active, right? And not be a lazy little shit. I was looking forward to going on these hikes and exploring the island and not just being in my room all day or laying out at a beach all day just getting hammered, right? And just a side note, I don't think I even got drunk once the entire time I was there, right? I had like maybe a couple at dinner or something like that, but that was not what was exciting about the trip, and that was not something that we like the people that we were there with, Amanda and Alex and Jess and I were like looking forward to. So it was always about the experience, always about the people we were with, and always about like what we were doing. But yeah, it's finding that balance of like, yeah, you want off days, and yeah, you want to go on excursions and get out there and see the island and see Hawaii. And we balanced it perfectly, right? Like right when we got in, what did we do the very first? We had something planned, but it was chill. I don't even remember. It was like 11 days. It was forever ago. It was what it feels like. But like we had nothing, right? We got there, and I think we had like a dinner or something. And then after that, because we got in late, then we tried to stay awake as long as possible so that we didn't ruin our sleep schedule. We ended up going to bed at like 8:00. Woke up the next morning, chill day. I think it was pool and relaxation into like a hike or something into a dinner. But it like we didn't leave the island. We did. I lied. All the way around. First thing in the morning, we snorkeled. That's what it was. It was an 8 to 12 snorkeling thing, or like 8 to 10:30. Sorry, it wasn't crazy. It was like 2 hours. It was really close by. And then we had the whole day to chill. Then we came back, showered, went to the pool, had a couple of drinks, had a lovely dinner. Boom. Next day, the girls had like a little spa day, and me and Alex went golfing. And then that night, I think we had something else planned too. But like I had like 18,000 steps that day. I was super tired, but I got a lot worked out. Basically, felt great. We've done one little thing, right? The very first day we went out, and then after that, next day, chill. Stayed on the resort. I had my golf day. Right, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Then the next day after that, I think we went on this waterfall hike. That took the whole day, and that was something we probably wouldn't do again because we had no idea how long it was going to take. We thought we were going to be back by 4. We ended up being back like later than that. It started super early. There were multiple pickups in the car, so we were the first ones picked up, last ones dropped off, kind of a thing. It took us 45 minutes to gather all the guests up on the excursion. And it was a great way to see the island, and it was a hell of a view at the very end of it all. But like, I think we would have done other things that day because it felt like a school field trip, right? You weren't leaving that van or that car any other way. You're seeing this shit through. So definitely wouldn't do that. But yeah, again, it was like a perfect balance of this, that. One day we would kind of chill. Like it was like a half day at the resort, and then we would go out. Or it was a full day going out, and then the next day would be a full day of the resort relaxing so that we didn't feel like we had too much planned. So it was perfect balance. How did the scenery and vibe of Hawaii compare to other places I've traveled to? We didn't see any of the locals. I'll say that, right? Like we stayed, besides obviously the locals that worked there. We didn't like go into Hawaii, like into a town. I don't know. I've read and like seen a lot of videos and stuff. They're like, they just don't want you there. So the vibe that we got obviously probably wasn't an authentic one, but the vibe that we got was it was just happy, chill. Everyone was moving slow. Like even when we ordered food, it was slow. And like, no one cared. I didn't care. Everyone was happy. It felt like there was like every bar and every restaurant we went to, there was no TVs. So like you were kind of disconnected. The views were immaculate, right? The ocean, peaceful, relaxing. There was literally sea turtles napping on the beach. Just perfection. I kept joking around that like I wanted to live there. Like I'm never coming back. And obviously I'm back, but let's just say I loved it. I loved every second of it. Did I have any favorite spots or hidden gems that I'd recommend to others? I mean, I'd recommend going manta ray swimming at night. You get in the ocean at night. You're on these little boats, or you're like, your arms are out, you're floating, you're attached to these little like boards in the ocean. They turn on the lights at the bottom of these boards, so plankton come up from the bottom of the ocean. And then manta rays that aren't stingrays. Manta rays are the pandas of the ocean. They have like a 15 foot wingspan, and all they eat is plankton. And obviously they just come up right next to you and just eat all night. They have to eat 22 hours out of the day. They eat because they have to eat 9 pounds of plankton every day. Terrible way to live, but just majestic creatures. So I recommend doing that. And then just go on hikes and go to the Black Sands Beach. If you go to the Big Island, go to the Black Sands Beach. I wish we spent a whole day there. I wish we would have brought a keg or like a cooler of beers and food and just laid there all day and just experienced that sand, because it was just beautiful. The ocean was gorgeous. And the black sand was just something like you've never seen it before. It just felt like you were in a movie. It was wild. So I think I would have done that instead of the waterfall tour. Would have just chilled in the ocean by the Black Sands Beach. What was the most relaxing part of my trip? The final segment of the trip, the 4 days we spent in Lanai, we spent it in like this meditation area, really very Zen, very Buddha-y, very relaxing, very like not a lot of guests there. You felt like you were alone. It was very much like Get Out, the vibes of Get Out, right? Like, in a good way, because that was where I had this super peaceful, amazing hike there. Met a new couple and they were incredible too. I love them. But like, I had like this meditation session. I had my first ever facial, and the massage was just out of this world. Like everything about it just like brought me back to zero. And I learned a lot, I think, while I was there, and I just loved it. I loved it. It was like open. It was like an adult dormitory kind of. And I say that because like, everything was open. Everything was open, right? You never felt like you were constricted in that area at all. The restaurants wide open, right? Like massive glass ceilings and glass windows just everywhere. And when you went, even the bar, there was one bar there. The bar was an incredible vibe. Like a little octagon around the center, right? So in the center was a bar, and there was like the seating was like an octagon shape. So you were looking at all the other guests, if there were guests there that were having a drink, which was awesome. And then they had these big, massive sliding doors to like exit, to go out into like the wild area with like the animals and to take a walk through like the garden. And like just those doors were just massive. So it just felt like welcoming and inviting. So like, that was definitely the most relaxing part of the trip. And how did my Hawaii experience impact my mindset or inspiration moving forward? I mean, I learned a lot from this the meditation guider teacher. His name was Jim. And the meditation session I had, I think, is what I learned the most from being in Hawaii. Was during that session, which wasn't, I didn't like really learn anything about myself, but more about like the human brain and our psychology, and like just to be more open-minded and to like stop letting my brain decide things. I don't know. I can't even explain it. It would take too long, and I'm not a professional, but I learned a lot through that meditation, and I'm going to continue to do it and probably even take lessons with Jess, with him online, to continue our journey at just taking back control of our emotions and, who we are and how we react to certain things.
When you visit a state as big and diverse as Texas, there are a million different trips you can take. Let's say you've got an appetite for whitewater kayaking. You can get your own, so this is why they call it Devil's River, trip to Texas. Or maybe you have an actual appetite. I'll take a pound of brisket, 6 ribs, 3 links of sausage, and a piece of pecan pie. Trip to Texas. Go to traveltexas.com/get your own for the only trip to Texas that matters. Yours.
There are a lot of reasons some people choose cannabis. Whether you're tapping into your creative side or just trying to relax, the one thing weed won't do is make it any more safe or legal to drive afterwards. It can slow reaction times, for example, and if you thought a few eye drops helped you get away with it, know that people can tell when you've been smoking marijuana, including law enforcement. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI.
All right, let's just chat about the Lions, ladies and gentlemen. All right, it's happening. Football season starts next week. We're here. I've never been more fucking excited in my entire life for football season because guess what? The Lions can go to the Super Bowl. All right, so what are my thoughts on the team's current roster and recent trades or drafts? I think we are positioned to win the Super Bowl this year. I think we're in an incredible spot. Jared Goff's been playing out of his mind. Top 5 quarterback statistically. So all the haters can suck it. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to pop off this year. He had an incredible second half of the last season. Penei Sewell leading the charge, man. I just Aiden Hutchinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamo Williams, getting more reps in. He's coming together as a wide receiver. Not to mention we have Laporta. I mean, dude, we made incredible pickups in the secondary and for our defense. Like it's on like Donkey Kong, dude. And I've never been more excited. I'm definitely personally the most excited for probably. I just like the hype behind Jameson Williams, dude. Like his speed, right? I want him to continue to develop his hands, and I want him to continue to develop his routes and understanding of the game, so that he can just use that speed and be as good as Tyreek Hill, right? Because that's literally what you have, right? You're compared. You talk about the cheetah, right? You want to be compared to somebody. You want to be compared to one of the greatest wide receivers we've seen in a while, and that's Tyreek. I think that's why Jamo has that capacity to be like that, to be as good as him, to be as fast as him. So I'm really looking forward to seeing his progression throughout the year. What do I think are the biggest strengths and weaknesses of the teams this season? I mean, our offense is our biggest strength, and even our defense right now also our strength. Like, we were not the greatest defensively last year, but we're only going to improve. We had a very young defense, and now we have an even more experienced defense with even more, a more stacked roster on that side of the ball. So it's that's what I'm talking about, bro. Right? Our biggest weakness is now our strength, one of our strengths. So I'm just pumped to see, our execution, not to mention our coaching, right? We have one of the best offensive coordinators in the NFL, and obviously Dan Campbell is the coach that the players want to fight for, right? And that they want to win for, bleed for. So I'm just, I hope I just hope it's another successful year. How do I see the Lions stacking up against their main rivals in the division? So I think that the NFC North is legitimately going to be one of the toughest divisions in the year, of the year. I think they were almost there last year, but the Bears just obviously made it so that wasn't true. But with the Bears taking up Caleb Williams and Jordan Love really coming to his own and making that offense purr last year with what seemed like nobodies on offense, right? Like no star wide receivers. But they were all getting touchdowns because Jordan Love was getting the job done. The Bears defense popped off in the second half of the year as well. They looked like they were a top 5 defense. It was horrifying. They picked off Goff like 3 times both games. And now they have some real weapons on offense and potentially just a real fighting chance. So I'm not counting the Bears out, but I do think it's going to be the Lions and the Packers in the top 2 of the division. I think anyone could win it. I'm hoping it's the Lions. Are there any specific games or matchups that I'm looking forward to? There's plenty, but I'm just going to come down and just say it. I'm just going to be that guy. I'm just going to come out and say it. The Dallas Cowboys rematch. We got fucking shafted last year by the refs. Dallas cheated, right? They made a phone call. Ineligible player. He didn't check in. We all know he did. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that matchup. Absolutely. What changes or improvements do you hope to see the team from the team as the season progresses? I mean, you just want to see growth, right? You want to see just great play calls and continuing to adapt to whatever's happening throughout the season. If teams are playing differently, but that's not, just win, right? Just win. And if you lose, give me a call. I'll hype you up. Final question. How do I think the coaching staff is handling the season so far? I mean, they're killing it. Like I said, right? We're in the best spot we've been in a long time, with coaches that the players actually want to play for and fight for. So I think that we're probably in one of the best positions in the NFL in terms of coaching staff, right? And in terms of people actually being, having the credibility and experience for their position. So go Lions, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning into an episode of AFK with Ninja. We've had a blast diving into the Detroit Lions' latest games and Tyler Ninja Blevins, my epic Hawaii adventure. Whether you're rooting for the Lions or just enjoying Ninja's island escapades, we hope you found this episode as exciting as we did.
It's AFK with Ninja. Ninja's got a show. It's AFK with Ninja, the best podcast in the world.
When it comes to family vacations, there are a million different trips you can take. You can get your own trip to Texas. Or if you prefer a vacation from your family, you can always get your own leave the kids with grandma trip to Texas. So go to traveltexas.com/get your own for the only trip to Texas that matters. Yours.
There are a lot of reasons some people choose cannabis. Whether you're tapping into your creative side or just trying to relax, the one thing weed won't do is make it any more safe or legal to drive afterwards. It can slow reaction times, for example, and if you thought a few eye drops helped you get away with it, know that people can tell when you've been smoking marijuana, including law enforcement. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI.